Hey, what's up, guys? Benji Bruce here with SpeakingLifestyle.com, and I want to talk to you about something very interesting, which is basically how to get more clients to hire you to speak. Now, not too long ago, I sent an email out to ask people like what they thought of the National Speakers Association, what they thought of their conference, and one response actually said that she loved it and she would be happy to chat about it with me on the phone. Now, since I'm very strict about my time management, I told her that I only talk on the phone with coaching clients. And the reason I don't just chat with anyone on the phone is because I know what my top activities are in my business that produces money, and anything that takes time away from it, it needs to make me a certain amount of money. If it doesn't, then I'm more likely than not going to refuse to do it. So spending time to talk about an event, about just a random event, it isn't a moneymaker for me, which is why I said no. But then she actually responded with something interesting that I know most speakers would kind of want to know the answer to. So she essentially said, I understand the time management thing, but how do you know that I didn't want to hire you and all I needed was an extra 10 to 15 minute phone conversation with you to push me over the line and hire you as a speaking coach? So I'm sure a lot of speakers would think the same thing. Like, wow, you just say no, and how do you know that just that little bit would have built some rapport and she would have hired you? So it's a legit question that I'm sure most people would have. And I mean, especially if you have your own coaching program, just talking to someone for like 10, 15 minutes. So let me give you the reasoning behind why I said no and how this actually relates to getting more speaking clients. First, I I mentioned this earlier. It's essentially a time management thing, and I know what my top activities are in the business that produces a certain amount of money, so I spend time only on those things. That's the first thing. And second, you have to understand the psychology of your buyers and how people buy high-priced items. When people buy anything that costs them a lot, and I mean, a lot can be different things to different people. I mean, $2,000, it might be like chump change to someone like Bill Gates, but it might be a lot to someone else. So when a person is going to pay for something that costs a lot, what happens first is they actually do research on it. So when you're buying a car or you're buying a house, you don't just buy the first one that you see. I mean, you do some research on it. And the same happens with your coaching program. Now, it's also important to know that it's important to know what I mean by research. I mean, by research, I mean that they don't just jump into it. Someone who invests in your coaching program, they might have been like following you for months or years before they actually invested in it. They probably bought your other products too. Very rarely will someone just buy your coaching program without knowing anything about you. They've just like, I mean, they've watched all your videos, they might have read all your blog posts, they liked it, then they contact you for the coaching. But what happens is by the time someone contacts you for coaching, they already know what you have to offer. They already know how good you are, and they just want you to help them. You don't need to actually convince them to join your coaching program. They're already convinced. It's just a matter of details, really. So when she responded by saying, what if the 10 to 15 minute phone call would have been the thing that I needed to pull the trigger, the thing that I needed to hire you as a coach? Well, think about where that puts me. That essentially means that I have to persuade her to sign up. And after watching all my videos, reading all my blog posts, and following my stuff, if after the hours of free training stuff, she still isn't convinced, then the 10 to 15 minutes won't really do much. If someone isn't absolutely convinced that spending $10,000 on a coaching program is going to improve their business, then a 10-minute phone call, it's not going to change that. For someone to spend $10,000, they have to be absolutely convinced. When you're put in the position where you have to convince someone to hire you, you've essentially lost the game. That's pretty much that's what happened to my brother, who's actually a fitness coach, and he said that someone actually came up to him. They asked him why they should hire him, why they should hire my brother as a fitness coach. When the guy said, like, literally, I could just go online, I could just go on the internet and find healthy meals and workouts and all that stuff. And my brother, if you look at my brother, he's ripped. I mean, he's got an 8-pack, he's everything. He actually competed in the Mr. Olympia physique show. He's not like huge bodybuilder status with I call it the ugly muscles. He's more of like the model status, where it's more the 8-pack, all that stuff. So if you look at him, then you know what he's talking about. I mean, all you have to do is just look at him. You know he knows what he's talking about. But this guy, he came up to my brother. He said, well, why should I hire you? He still needed convincing. So my brother actually said something. I don't know what it was, I don't know what happened, but basically the guy didn't hire him. And I told my brother, I said, look, next time, don't waste your time. Don't waste your breath if someone asks you that, because if someone sees you and they still ask, why should I listen to you? Then it's not going to work. I mean, it's obvious that what my brother does works. If you just take one look at him, it's obvious that what he does works. But if someone says, why should I hire you? Then nothing he can say is going to convince them that it's going to work. I mean, just think about it. I mean, you can tell the psychology of someone who's ready to buy just by the questions they actually ask you. Someone who isn't ready to buy, they're going to ask questions like, why should I hire you? But someone who's ready to buy, they're going to ask, when can we get started? It's simple, but it's something that you need to pay very close attention to. And this actually leads me to the point of how to get more clients to hire you to speak. A lot of speakers, they've talked about phone scripts and saying things to persuade clients to get them to hire them. They want to know what to say to someone to get hired. Like, oh, what do I say when I call someone up to get hired as a speaker? But they kind of have it backwards. Your marketing should be so good that by the time they contact you, they're ready to hire you. It's not a matter of why they should hire you. It's a matter of where they should send the check. That's pretty much it. I don't use any type of sales techniques on the phone or in the email. When someone contacts me for an event, they're ready to hire me. I mean, all the persuasion, it has already happened. It's already been done by the time they send that first email. And now it's just a matter of whether or not I'm available. It's important that you understand the difference. If someone asks why they should hire you as a speaker, then that means that you haven't done your job in the marketing of your business. That means that something is broken in your marketing process. Maybe you don't have a great website. Maybe you don't have the great video footage. It means that something in your marketing process needs to get fixed, not something in your sales technique when you're talking to the client, because nothing you're going to say is going to really work. If you're selling clients on whether or not they should hire you, you need to stop selling and get better at marketing, because people should already be sold by the time they contact you. I mean, I remember when I was getting started, I used to get asked this question a lot. Like, why should I hire you? A lot of people say like, oh, why should I hire you over someone else? And what's worse is that when you read like all these marketing books and you go to events, the speakers and all these people, they tell you to have a good answer to that question. Why should someone do business with you? And you try to answer it. I mean, you try to answer by saying something cool. You try to talk about, how you can change people's lives and how you're entertaining from the stage and how you can do this and that. And you try to answer the question literally. But in reality, you should have answered that question before they ever asked it. You should have answered the question before they ever contacted you. I mean, your website should be so good that it makes you look like a freaking celebrity. I mean, you should have so many video reviews that they can't watch all of them. Your stage footage should be so good that it's hard to like hear what you're saying because the crowd is just going wild. When you have all that, clients don't say like, hey, why should I hire you? They say like, hey, are you even available to do our event? Because we want you. There's a huge difference. The way you're going to get more clients to hire you to speak is to focus on the marketing you have in place before they ever speak to you. Before you ever talk to them on the phone, before they contact you through email, you need to focus on the marketing. If you have so much social proof that it makes you look like a freaking rock star, then their psychology, it's going to switch from why should we hire you to holy crap, I hope this speaker's available. And that's how you get more clients to hire you to speak.